Hey guys, Pickle700 here, and in today's video, believe it or not, I'm going to be installing another emergency light. And now, you might think I'm crazy for this much emergency lighting, and this is an absurd amount of emergency lighting. So, I'll show you what I got. Here it is, another Lumicell unit, and if we look at these heads, they're LED. This unit is pretty well brand new, I think. The battery doesn't say it needs to be replaced until 2029, which is a pretty good indicator that this is a pretty new product. So I paid $8 for this, and it does work, believe it or not, which I was almost not expecting for $8. This came from my local Restore. I highly recommend going to a Restore if you want like any fire alarm stuff or emergency lighting. They often have tons of pretty cheap stuff, because they're not always the greatest at pricing stuff. Like this is worth a lot more than $8, but I think they had it for that low because the set screw was out and this head was dangling off, and I guess they thought it was broken. Maybe, I'm not exactly sure. So I made a video of replacing emergency light batteries in not a emergency light, but a big battery pack unit with remote heads on it that is much like this and just plugs in. And I got a ton of comments saying how that's silly because somebody could tamper with it and unplug it, which I do agree with to a certain extent, but I also think who cares, like it's gonna be obvious if it gets unplugged and someone will probably plug it back in. But lots of the general public is stupid and doesn't realize that. So I can in a way see how it's silly, but typically they're plugged in very high that you'd need a ladder for. So not really a big deal. This is how it's almost all emergency lighting. Not all of it, but probably at least 50% is how it's done in my area throughout my schools and even other places other than in my schools in my school district, which it's just a unit that plugs into a receptacle. So a receptacle would be purposely put into a wall beside one of these on an emergency lighting circuit, and one of these units would plug into it. But I don't want to use that because I think for that reason it's just kind of silly, doesn't look that professional. So I'm going to be using conduit or Lumex through the top. So I am going to put this emergency light just over top of that low frequency sounder. One head can point down this way and one can point over this way. So first I'm going to mount it where I want it, and then we're going to get into running power to it. So front cover is already off, and I'll remove this battery to make it a little bit easier so I can knock out some knockouts. So I'm going to mount it right over that low frequency sounder, and I'm not too worried about it being blocked by the garage door opener because one head's going to be aimed right down here. We don't need any more lighting over there, being that there's this Lumicell unit, which I posted a video on putting those LED heads in. Same with this one lighting up that area. So I'm going to have one angled right down this way, if not a little bit closer to this way, and one aimed pretty well that way. I'll stick a level on this thing so we can get it level. So now I'm going to get power to it, which I'm going to take off these receptacles or from that junction box there, so I'll update you once that's done. So this is what I have right now. I have my Lumex down to right here, so I need to knock out this top knockout. Technically I should have this protected from mechanical damage, so that should either be armored cable or be in conduit, but it's like 6 inches, so screw it. My Lumex is now coming into this battery pack, so now I'm just going to strip it, and I'm going to undo these terminations that they have made, and then do my own right here. My new splices are made, so now all I have to do is put the battery in and adjust the heads. Battery is in, so I'm going to turn on the circuit now. Normally want to power up by AC first and power down by AC last. Plug in the batteries. So now, yeah, it will go into emergency mode. So now we're going to adjust our heads. Got the heads adjusted, I think, pretty well. We can check them later. So just put our front on now. So now to make sure that they're adjusted properly, I'm going to turn off the lights in here. Here, as many as I can. That one's going to turn back on me. So now that's dark, we can see exactly where they're pointed. So this one is pointed right sort of where I want it to be. And this one's sort of pointed over there pretty well. Kind of at the fire alarm control panel down there. So I think that's a pretty good spot the way they're adjusted like that, so I'm happy with that. Okay guys, so now we're going to do a power outage simulation, and I might not even have to do a simulation later because we're supposed to get some pretty good storms. Not sure if you can tell, but it's pouring and it's not super windy yet, but the wind's starting to really pick up. We're supposed to get up to over 100 km/h winds and pouring rain for the next few days and thunder and lightning tonight. So it's going to be a stormy night tonight, so emergency lighting might get tested. Power hasn't gone actually out at my house in over a couple years, but let's do a test. This is the bathroom, well lit. Keep in mind this would be pretty much pitch black because it is not much light left outside. It looks brighter on camera than it actually does in person. So yeah, battery isn't too much charged in this, I don't think, so it probably wouldn't last too long. But it does give us lots of light over here, which is good. So guys, that's the new emergency light. Hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to hit the thumbs up button. If you haven't already, make sure to subscribe. Thanks for watching.